What is good, guys and girls of YouTube? It is me, Justin Omoe, here with the video for you guys and girls, of course, to learn about music and improve yourself in artistry. And you probably know the deal if you heard about me before. So yes, today we're going to talk about routing. Yes, routing. This is another DAW terminology term, and yeah. So routing is basically sending one sound's insert into another insert, or the master or send anywhere as well, and you could do some styles and effects with it. So yes, basic routing, let's just talk about that right now. Notice how my microphone is going into two inserts instead of one. Now what's the deal with that? Now the reason why is because this insert right here, my microphone, notice the input is going into this insert here named the vocals, which does not have the input. So I am basically routing this sound to go into the vocal slot. Now, hold on. Notice this is how I would sound without the effects on. And yes, this is why you would want to route things to send things to another insert that does have effects and styles. And yeah, so in this case, by default, all these sounds would be inserted to route into the master as well as into these four inserts at the right side. If you don't see it, there's a little black bar. Yeah, click it and then it'll show you. These are known as sends or buses. In any case, it's still an insert, but we have the template to make it have like a sound send or a bus style to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and route my vocal back. And as you hear now, you hear two of me, which is crazy. This is going to lead to my next point, that you could route your vocals into multiple sounds to make, however you want to hear it. So yes, note that you could route to multiple sounds and inserts. So let me go ahead and turn this off, 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 off. Cool. Now you hear just one of me, which is, ideal. So yes, you could route to different, things like this, as well as, the sends. And notice how these are black instead of having some green in it, which is basically saying there is none of this insert going into there. It's 0%. Let me go here and kill it back. So if I raise this up, you can notice there's an reverb effect. That's because there's a reverb effect in here. And take note that I turned off the dry. Otherwise, you'll hear, the dryness of my vocal. And in this case, I don't want that. So yes, you have to use this little knob. If you middle click or right click reset, it goes to 100%. This goes up to 125%. And yeah, so I'm going to put it back to 0. So, it doesn't have to show reverb. I don't want reverb on my vocals right now. And yes. So if you take a note here, I'm going to my vocals insert and notice that I cannot route back into the mic insert, but I can route this into there, but I can't route this back into that. That being said, the master slot cannot route into anything else because they are not going into, they're going into the master, so you can't route it back. So let's say, for example, I turn this off. Let's see. If I go to master, I still can't do it, which is, wait, why? Why can't I do that? The reason being is because the master is the actual final output. You cannot drag the master out into one of these inserts again. If you want to do something to the insert, you have to do it right in the master slide. Hold on. My bad. So yes, note that you cannot route the master out into another input here. So yes, the same applies for these send tracks. They can't go in here, and the reason is because these are going into the send already. So if I click off, on insert 25, I go here, notice I can route it. So if I hit play, my bad with the coughing, I'm still sick. That's why I haven't really put out a video in a minute. But yes, notice that this did go into there and it showed the input because these are not masters. These are just send buses. Let me just put this back. So yes, that is another case of routing. You could route to, but you can't route back. And also take note that the master cannot route into these inserts. So yes, couple more things before we, stop talking or I stop talking. You could group sounds to all be controlled into one insert. So let's say I name this one instrumental. So this is going to be the whole beat. So I could basically turn this off. I could take the reverb, put this into the instrumental track. Let me go ahead and rename or change the color to something more, vibrant so you can see green. Okay, or lime green or whatever. So yes, I could take all these sounds, route them into the master, or not master, my bad. Route them into this insert that's named instrumental, as well as I have to take it off of the master. Remember, these could go into more than one. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn all these off. And let me make sure that the reverb is also off. Cool. So now I have this thing called instrumental. If I hit play, notice how you can hear the instrumental signal going here, and then this goes into the master. If I lower this, it lowers down everything. This is treated kind of like a master insert, except, we route everything into one insert. So note that you can group sounds to go into it. You could also group sounds to group into it. If you're confused, let me go ahead and do this. I'm gonna double click and highlight this section here. And then we could right click, and then I could go to track routing, or no, is it track? Create group. So I'm gonna click create group, and I'm gonna name these sounds. Cool. So notice how there's like a little, thick bar. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a thick bar in between called separator. This basically created the group. Now, you don't really have to do that, but for me, I'm doing it. You could insert these into here. Notice how they're routed into the sounds icon. Then we could turn it off of the instrumental and have the sounds route from not the master, but into the instrumental track. I hope you guys aren't confused. And with the same case, let me put this back. We could take this to control these three sounds here. Cool, right? That's another case of routing. You could put them into one group and then send it to another group and so on. That's the amazing thing about routing. One more thing before I stop bothering you about, all that, is something called sidechaining. So let me go ahead and find this kick. All right, if I go into the kick right here and insert 7, you'll notice this is routed into the instrumental like we did, but this is also routed into the bass. And there's nothing coming out of it. So why? What's the point of that? Well, this is something called This is something called sidechaining. So let me go ahead and just push this here next to the bass, and I'll change this color into like purple and change this one into something like red. I don't know, whatever. So here's something that the sidechaining is doing. Take a look at the bass's waveform. You can also look here at the current, the C, and notice that when the kick comes in, something happens to the bass signal. So I'm gonna hit play. So it might not be easy for you guys and girls to see, but the signal of the kick went down. Now this is through something called sidechaining. So what I did, you could right click, sidechain to this track. In that case, I did that to this, right click, sidechain to this track. And now I could run a FX, a plugin like the limiter that has the option called sidechaining. Now notice I just flipped it up to sidechain 1. If I hit play, cool. Notice how the kick's signal is inside of this track, even though there's no sound coming into it. This is known as sidechaining. So we're using that signal to affect the bass's sound. So I could show you a super deep kind of example. Put this into like a hard limiter style. Notice this. Notice how it goes down real bad. Let me hit that. You could barely hear the bass. Well, you can't really hear the bass. But if I put it back to, something like this. Yeah. So that is what side chaining does. That's part of routing as well. So I'm not going off topic. All right. So yes, there's other effects that does, do the side chaining, such as, let me go ahead and find, okay, this sound right here. It has something called stereo shaper, and we could side chain it. Notice there's 5 already because we have what you call it, we have the 4 inserts as well as the one, which should be the instrumental. And yeah, this is the instrumental right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I put this into like right here, let me go ahead and route that here, turn this down. This will be known as 2. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the stereo shaper and set this to 2. Notice how something came out. See that? That is known as the in-out difference for this side chaining effect. It basically takes what is not here from this effect and put the difference into the other routing. In this case, it'll be 19. See it? And then we could do, some reverb or style effects with it and such. So yes, that is basically what routing does. You could it's what you call it? I'm getting confused here. Routing is basically sending a signal into a next insert. You can send it to the bus for effects. By the way, I don't think I showed that. Let me go ahead and do that. Let me turn off this. Notice the reverb. So yeah, that's what I did. I did it with all the drum sounds here and the kick. See, it's right there. I don't know if I just said that. Anyways, that is what routing is, sending a signal to the next signal. It is good for grouping sounds. It is good for, giving the same effect to a sound. In this case, it was the drums to make it sound, unison, realistic feeling. And yes. So hopefully you guys and girls learned something about this. If you do like this video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up. It really helps me out, helps the channel out. And if you do want to learn more, if you're not subscribed to me, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. So yes, thank you all for watching. My name is Justin Omoe. And with that being said, peace.